Installing a standard commercial fire alarm panel. Locate the fire alarm panel in this little shed here. You'll see it's usually around other stuff like it. Manufacturer EST. Don't really pay attention to a whole lot of this, but this is good information of who's monitoring the company right now and then where the numbers are for the central station. You'll see when you open up the panel, you'll see down here is all of the instruction manuals for the wiring diagram on this thing that you can use for programming, etc. We find typically in the top right corner there is information regarding the address that this panel is good for and an account number of which to reference when putting this mode into test with the central station, which is prerequisite before you start working on these things. Call the central station, let them know you want to do a test mode for as long as you're going to be installing, and then you can start playing around with stuff. You want the fire truck rolling out. I've already installed an MS-121A. I found located it's going to be using AC power, and I'll explain why as we're looking at this panel. So I'm going to close this door and try to get some dark in here so you can see what I'm talking about. You'll see that the terminals for standard installation, this terminal right here, is normally where we plug in for power. It's called the auxiliary terminal. And the auxiliary terminal is used to power our device and anything else auxiliary wise you want to power from the panel's power. And right now it's giving out 24 volts, 7 amps. It's perfect for our product. However, it's occupied by a bell. And usually that's not the case, but in this case it is. If you want to co-locate the power on these, just put our power on top of that power and it runs the bell and us. It's possible. You then have to get into the programming of the panel and using jumpers. That's kind of programming panels 102. We'd like to avoid that whenever possible, but we'll talk about that in the next video. Moving on. You'll see that the 121 has a label on the back. That information is recorded before I mount it on the wall. The power is run right now, and Lincoln mentioned it's running to the AC power, which is then converting it to the 12 volt 7 amps it needs. And then we've run a phone cable, and we've created a coupler attachment so that we can simplify the attachment of everything here. This is a nice little add-on feature that we do. And then the phone line then runs up to the RJ. Line 1, RJ 31X for line 1 for line 2. And so I'll go up here a little closer. We'll look at these a little bit closer. So you'll see that line 2 is now dangling over here. Okay, we're no longer using line 2 because our product is taking over line 2. So you'll notice by the wiring, as the blue line comes in and the white line right here, that's for line 1. So you've got the tip and the ring going to line 1. Tip on the left, ring on the right, standard tip and ring. You'll see that I've created a red jumper that goes across that combines tip to tip for line 1 and line 2. And the reason why we do this is so we can draw power from line 1 to power line 2, the supervision part of line 2 that's required for the fire alarm panels. So with that, we've taken our cable and we've put it to tip and ring on line 1, tip and ring on line 2 for tip and ring, and we bridged the tip together and we bridged the ring together. So now the fire alarm panel, which is connected up here for line 1 and line 2, this goes into the fire alarm panel and goes into you see that line. So line 1, line 2, you see them coming out of there. It goes around, and then out this hole here, out the side, up into line 1, and up into line 2. And so that's what it's supposed to look like when you button it up inside of it. Bridging tip to tip, ring to ring. You now remove the city provided phone line for line 2. You're only using line 1 for the primary and using our products for line 2. Notice that the lights are where they're supposed to be, solid when they're supposed to be, blinking where they're supposed to be, and we're looking good here. Now take note that the